Live from New Delhi, you're watching DT India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Kurana. Coming up in the next hour. Jamaica braces for world's strongest storm as brutal winds begin lashing the Caribbean nation as catastrophic Category 5 storm Malisa nears landfall. Thousands evacuated amid warnings of mass destruction. Ahead of his high-stakes meeting with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, US President Trump holds talks with Japanese PM Sakai. Trade and security dominate the agenda. After Trump's 48-hour warning, Hamas returns body of another deceased hostage. Remains of 12 hostages still held in Gaza. Israel lifts state of emergency near Gaza border for the first time since 2023. Tensions simmer between US and Venezuela as US flies B-1B bombers over the Caribbean. Caracas announces immediate suspension of energy agreements with Trinidad and Tobago over hosting of US naval warship. And on to the details now. Jamaica is bracing for the world's strongest storm as brutal winds began lashing the Caribbean nation ahead of the landfall of catastrophic hurricane Malisa. Malisa has intensified into a Category 5 hurricane and is moving rapidly towards Jamaica, where it is expected to unleash catastrophic flooding, landslides and widespread damage. It is expected to make landfall on the Caribbean island in the early hours of Tuesday. Well, part of Malisa's punch stems from its slow pace. It is lumbering along slower than most people walk at just 3 miles per hour or less. That means areas in its path could endure punishing conditions for far longer than during most hurricanes. Also, the hours after ordering mandatory evacuations for parts of southern Jamaica, including the historic town of Port Royal, Prime Minister Andrew Holness called on foreign support and warned of damage to farmlands, homes and infrastructure such as bridges, roads, ports and airports. The Jamaican government has ordered evacuation for parts of Kingston, and the entire island has been classified as threatened. Also, the U.S. National Hurricane Center warned of catastrophic flash flooding, landslides and destructive winds that could cause lengthy power and communication outages, along with extensive infrastructural damage. Also, Malisa would be the strongest hurricane in recorded history to directly hit the small Caribbean nation. After pummeling Jamaica, Malisa was forecast to head north and cross over eastern Cuba on Tuesday night, while continuing to bring rain and heavy winds to Haiti and the Dominican Republic. The storm has already been blamed for the deaths of 4 people in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Bahamian Prime Minister Philip Davis also ordered evacuations for people in southern and eastern parts of the archipelago, while much of eastern Cuba battened down ahead of Malisa's expected landfall. However, Hurricane Malisa is not forecast to reach the U.S. mainland. And the United States and Japan signed an agreement on Tuesday securing the supply of critical minerals and rare earths. Now, this comes as U.S. President Donald Trump, on the second leg of his Asia tour, met with Japan's Prime Minister Sakai. Now, Sakai greeted Trump at the Prime Minister's residence in Tokyo, her first face-to-face meeting with a U.S. leader just days after she took office. The talks focused on trade and security a week after the hardline conservative became Japan's first female leader and vowed to accelerate a military buildup. Also, the objective of the deal is to assist both the countries in achieving resilience and security of critical minerals and rare earth supply chains. Sakai emphasized the nation's bond and thanked Trump for enduring friendship with former PM Shinzo Abe and said that she wants to realize the new golden age of Japan-US alliance. Trump said that Washington is an ally of the strongest level.
an ally at the strongest level, and it's a great honor to be with you, especially so early in what will be, I think, one of the greatest prime ministers.
Well, Trump is due to deliver a speech on Tuesday on the USS George Washington aircraft carrier docked at the U.S. naval base Yokosuka. He will also have dinner with business leaders, likely including the chairman of car maker Toyota. Trump arrived in Tokyo on Monday for a visit sandwiched between a trip to Malaysia and a meeting in South Korea with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping that could ease the bruising trade war between the world's two biggest economies, sparked by sweeping U.S. tariffs. Also, the car industry accounts for around 8% of jobs in Japan. Most Japanese imports into the U.S. are subject to tariffs of 15%, less painful than the 25% first threatened, but still contributing to a 24% slump in U.S.-bound car exports in September in value terms year-on-year. And for more, we have Dipendu Mondal joining us on this. Well, Dipendu, with Takaichi boosting Japan's defense spending and U.S. kind of pushing for more, how does this meeting reshape the U.S.-Japan security alliance and signal Japan's stance to China and North Korea especially?
Well, Nipakshi, this meeting is crucial because this is the first meeting after the new Prime Minister of Japan has taken over, and this is the first meeting between the U.S. President and the Japanese Prime Minister. This also comes amidst, the tariff war that has unleashed with, as you also mentioned, about the two greatest economies, in fact, two largest economies, the U.S. and China. And Japan is, of course, an important key player in the Indo-Pacific region. And the meeting with President Trump and the Japanese Prime Minister in fact, seems to be fruitful because both the leaders have shared a cordial relation with each other in their very first meeting. And, already the US and Japan already had a tariff, negotiation in place, and the tariff that Trump had slammed on the Japanese side was just 15%, contrary to what most of the other economies in the world have faced. So, which clearly shows that the US and Japan share cordial bond in terms of trade and commerce is concerned. And this meeting is, of course, going to be reshaping how the Indo-Pacific region is functioning, also because of the fact that, remember, Donald Trump has asked the Japanese side to increase their defense spending. And I believe, the Japanese side have also agreed to increasing their defense spending to about 2% of their GDP. So therefore, this meeting seems to be a fruitful one between the US president and the Japanese side. And this, of course, as I said, is the first visit of the US president to Japan after the new prime minister, who is, of course, a conservative leader, has taken over office, and, of course, also the first female prime minister of Japan, the Fakshi.
All right, Dipendu, also, how is Trump using this Tokyo visit, including the $550 billion Japanese investment and the potential trade deals which we might see, to strengthen the U.S. position in the Indo-Pacific trade talks, especially?
Well, Lipakshi, the U.S. plays a very important role in the Indo-Pacific region. And, this particular deal of the defense deal of $550 billion will play an important role because, as I said, U.S. remains a very important and one of the largest players in the Indo-Pacific region. And, and also President Trump is touring the Asian part of the Indo-Pacific region, where he will also be meeting. He'll also be having a meeting in South Korea. So therefore, this deal is going to further give much needed impetus, as well as bolster the Indo-Pacific countries that needs to stand together at a time when China is trying to bring aggression in the Indo-Pacific region, and also bringing laying claims on certain region in that area. So therefore, the countries that are an ally of the United States are showing that they are together in and further deals in terms of these aspects will of course keep the US ally in this region stronger.
Absolutely. Also, Debendu, what message is Trump trying to send about the U.S. influence in Asia through his meeting with the Emperor Naruhito and a speech also, which is a very important speech aboard the USS George Washington?
Well, Lipakshi, US already had an interest in this particular region of the world because of the strategic position in this part of the world. So, of course, the message and the meeting of US President with the Emperor of Japan is crucial to give out a message to all the countries in this particular region that Japan remains a stronger ally of Washington, as well as as I said, that the Indo-Pacific region is a crucial part of this entire Southeast Asian region. So therefore, the US wants to have a bigger share of that pie, and in fact, to keep China in control. So therefore, this meeting and the US president's visit to the Southeast Asian region plays an important role in this entire optics that you see on camera, and you will be seeing in the coming days as well when he goes for his third leg of visit in South Korea.
Absolutely, a very important visit indeed. Thank you so much, Debendu, for all those details. And moving on to West Asia now, Hamas on Monday handed over the remains of another deceased hostage. Hamas faces mounting pressure to return all the bodies promised under the Gaza ceasefire. Israeli forces received a coffin set to contain the 16th of the 28 hostages killed in the October 7, 2023 attacks. Now, Israeli officials and families of captives are urging Hamas to speed up the transfers, which have slowed since the release of 20 living hostages. Hamas says it is committed to the ceasefire and insists it is trying to return all the remaining bodies, 11 Israelis and 2 workers from Thailand and Tanzania, but that the search has been hampered by the destruction wrought on Gaza during the conflict. Now, in recent days, Egypt has sent recovery teams and heavy machinery into Gaza with Israeli approval to aid the search joined by Red Cross workers. Now, on Monday, Defense Minister Israel Katz announced that Israel lifted the state of emergency for areas near the border with Gaza for the first time since the 2023 attack. No timeline has been set for the next phase of the Gaza truce, but Washington is working to form an international security force of Arab and Muslim troops. Israel opposes any role for Turkey in that mission. And tensions escalated on Monday after 2 US B-1B bombers conducted a flight over the Caribbean near Venezuela, the third display of military power in recent weeks. Now, according to the flight tracking site, Flight Radar 24, the bombers departed from a base in North Dakota and flew parallel to Venezuela's coastline before vanishing from the radar. Now, this follows a similar B-1B mission last week and a B-52 flight earlier this month, underscoring Washington's intent to ramp up pressure on President Maduro's government. And Venezuela's Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, said on Monday that authorities had detained 3 individuals allegedly in possession of CIA operational manuals, adding that they tried to erase data from their phones before being apprehended. Now, Cabello denounced the recent joint military drills between the U.S. and Trinidad and Tobago near Venezuela's coastal waters, calling them a provocation against the country. He further claimed that forensic examinations of the confiscated phones uncovered links between the CIA and groups opposing the Venezuelan government. Over the weekend, Caracas issued a statement condemning what it described as a potential CIA-led false flag plot against Venezuela.
We live in peace in this country. Just leave us alone. It's undoubtedly aggression. These military exercises they are conducting jointly with Trinidad are provocations denounced in the statement you are referring to.
Well, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on Monday announced the immediate suspension of an energy agreement with Trinidad and Tobago after the island nation welcomed a U.S. warship. Now, in a televised address, he accused Prime Minister Prasar Bharati of turning a country into an aircraft carrier for the American empire. The move follows Vice President Delcy Rodriguez's call to halt gas deals in response to U.S. pressure. Trinidad had earlier secured a U.S. license to develop the 4.2 trillion cubic foot Dragon gas field with Shell and NGC located in Venezuelan waters. Now, the relations between Caracas and Port of Spain have soured since Prasar Bharati's pro-US administration took office in April. Shell, NGC, BP and Trinidad's government have yet to comment on the suspension. And Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Prasar Bharati on Monday rejected Venezuela's threat to end a joint gas project over her government's decision to host the U.S. warship. Prasar Bharati declared that she would not yield to what she described as Venezuelan blackmail and emphasized that her government would continue its fight against the drug cartels. She added that Trinidad and Tobago's future had never depended on Venezuela following the docking of the USS Gravely off the island for joint military exercises. And Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum says the United States has given her country a few more weeks to make trade policy changes and avoid new 30% tariffs set to take effect on Saturday. The White House has asked Mexico to remove what it calls 54 barriers to trade, such as disputes about intellectual property. The U.S. agreed in July to pause for 90 days an increase in tariffs on some Mexican goods to 30% from 25% as the two countries continue trade talks aimed at reaching a new trade deal. That pause was set to end this week.
Hablé con el presidente Trump el sábado.
I spoke with President Trump and we are going to give it a few more weeks to be able to close the issue that is already very advanced regarding the 54 non-tariff barriers. So we agreed to speak again in a week or so because we are practically already closing the issue because ultimately on November 1st, that deadline closes that we had both set for ourselves of 3 months.
Plazo que nos habíamos puesto ambos de 3 meses.
And still to come on DD India News Now. US air travel chaos deepens as government shut down grounds, thousands of flights amid controller shortages. Turkey seals $10.7 billion deal for 20 Eurofighter jets in a move to boost air power and strengthen NATO ties. And protests erupt in Cameroon as 92-year-old President Paul Biya declared the winner of 8th term amid unrest.
Eighth edition of International Solar Alliance. I have with me some of the dignitaries around the globe. How do you see on the 8th session of this organization going forward?
The only financing product that we have announced is a $200 million Africa solar facility, where the uniqueness of that is not a line of credit or anything. We are launching what Prime Minister Modi talked about, one sun, one world, one grid for the first time.
I'm looking forward that for the establishment of a StarSea in South Sudan is a collaboration to strengthen our skills.
Yes, we're going to get more interactive learning from the new platform, the new YouTube learning that they're going to set up.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on, Russia's second largest oil producer, Lukoil, says it will sell its international assets after new U.S. sanctions over the Ukraine conflict. The planned sale marks the most significant move yet by a Russian firm responding to Western sanctions since the conflict began in February 2022. On October 22nd, US President Donald Trump imposed sanctions on major Russian oil companies, Lukoil and Rosneft. A week earlier, Britain also sanctioned both firms and 44 shadow fleet tankers used to evade restrictions. Now, Lukoil, based in Moscow, produces about 2% of global oil output, but has not specified which assets it plans to sell. And Lithuania accused Belarus of hitting it with a hybrid attack on Monday after dozens of balloons loaded with contraband forced it to temporarily close airports. Lithuania, a NATO and EU member, also shut its last two border crossings with neighboring Belarus over the incident. Lithuanian Prime Minister Inga Ruginen said the border closure was meant to show Belarus that hybrid attacks won't be accepted. Lithuania has authorized its army to shoot down the balloons and will decide on Wednesday how long the border closure will last. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen affirmed Europe's full support for Lithuania against ongoing helium balloon incursions. She labelled the balloons a hybrid threat and vowed not to tolerate them. She also emphasized that balloons were another reason to accelerate the EU flagship Eastern Flank Watch and European drone defence initiatives. And Turkey has bought 20 Eurofighter Typhoon jets from the UK for $10.7 billion, strengthening NATO defence ties and boosting its air capabilities. Now, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer met President Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara on Monday to seal the deal. The purchase is part of Turkey's push to match regional rivals like Israel, which has intensified air operations across the West Asia this year. Europe has increasingly looked to Turkey, NATO's second-largest military and a leading drone exporter, to bolster its eastern defences and support potential post-war stability efforts in Ukraine. Also, Turkey aims to bridge its air power gap before its domestically built Khan fighters are ready. It also has a pending $7 billion F-16 deal with the US, which has faced delays. Now, the visit was Starmer's first to Turkey since taking office last year. And US President reiterated during his week-long trip to Asia that he would love to serve an unconstitutional third term. Now, Donald Trump has repeatedly flirted with the idea of serving beyond the constitutionally mandated 2 terms, joking about it at rallies and teasing supporters with Trump 2028 hats. Some allies have taken those signals seriously, suggesting that they are exploring legal or political pathways to make it happen, a possibility dismissed by most constitutional scholars. Now, the 22nd Amendment to the U.S. Constitution bars anyone from being elected to the U.S. presidency for a third time. Trump, 79, seemed intent on presenting himself as fit to lead, told reporters he recently underwent MRI, which came back perfect.
I would love to do it. I have my best numbers ever. It's very terrible. I have my best numbers. If you read it, am I not ruling it out? I mean, you'll have to tell me. All I can tell you is that we have a great group of people, which they don't.
Well, U.S. air travel turmoil deepened as more than 5,600 flights were delayed nationwide on Monday, with air traffic controller absences surging as the federal government shutdown reached its 27th day. Now, the Federal Aviation Administration cited staffing shortages and imposed ground delay programs affecting Newark Airport in New Jersey, Austin Airport in Texas, and Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. Flights in the southeast were delayed earlier because of significant staffing shortages at the Atlanta Terminal Radar Approach Control. Roughly 13,000 air traffic controllers and 50,000 Transportation Security Administration officers must work without pay after a budget impasse between Republican President Donald Trump and congressional Democrats triggered the shutdown. The Trump administration has warned of flight disruptions will increase as controllers miss their first full paycheck on Tuesday. And Amazon is planning to cut as many as 30,000 corporate jobs beginning on Tuesday as the company works to pay expenses and compensate for overhiring during the peak demand of the pandemic, according to the sources. This would represent the largest job cut at Amazon since late 2022. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy is undertaking an initiative to reduce what is described as an excessive bureaucracy at the company, including by reducing the number of managers. The figure represents a small percentage of Amazon's 1.55 million total employees, but nearly 10% of the company's roughly 350,000 are corporate employees. And tech giants Meta and TikTok said on Tuesday that they will obey Australia's under-16 social media ban, but warned the landmark laws could prove difficult to enforce. Australia from 10th of December to force social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and TikTok to remove users under the age of 16. There is very keen interest in whether Australia's sweeping restrictions can work as regulators around the globe wrestle with the dangers of social media. Both TikTok and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, said the ban would be hard to the police but agreed they would abide by it. On paper, the ban is one of the strictest in the world, but when it's just over a month until it comes into effect, Australia is scrambling to fill in key questions around enforcement and firms' obligations. TikTok warned the age ban could have a raft of unintended consequences. And hundreds of Cameroonians took to the streets in protest on Monday after the world's oldest head of state, Paul Biya, was proclaimed to have won an 8th term, extending his more than 4-decade rule. Now, as per the official results released by the Constitutional Council, 92-year-old Biya won re-election with 53.7% of the vote, while former government minister Issa Tichurima Bakery finished second with 35.2%. Tichurima rejected Biya's win, and demonstrations by supporters in Daula and Garoua faced a heavy response from security forces. Similar protests over the weekend left 4 people dead. Post-election violence following the unexpectedly close vote has fueled concerns of escalating unrest in the Central African former French colony. Official results reported voter turnout at 46.3%. And Bangladesh's dengue situation remains alarming as 6 more people died and 983 new patients were hospitalized across the country in the last 24 hours. With the latest fatalities, the official's death toll from dengue this year has risen to 269, while the total number of hospital admissions now stands at 66,423. Currently, 3,733 dengue patients are undergoing treatment in hospitals nationwide, with 993 in Dhaka and 2,740 in other districts. Health experts have warned that the situation could worsen if preventive measures such as regular cleaning of stagnant water and community-based mosquito control drives are not strictly enforced. Well, the Directorate General of Health Services has urged citizens to remain vigilant, use mosquito repellents and seek medical attention symptoms appear. And still to come on DT India News Now. ECI launches second phase of special electoral roll revision across 12 states and UTs to ensure greater transparency and accuracy. President Murmu to deliver first ever presidential keynote at 8th ISA Assembly, highlighting India's leadership in clean energy transition. And devotees offer Usha Araghya as Chhath Puja concludes, marking gratitude, renewal and harmony with the nature.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kunalan. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Jamaica braces for world's strongest storm as brutal winds begin lashing the Caribbean nation as catastrophic Category 5 storm Malisa nears landfall. Thousands evacuated amid warnings of mass destruction. Ahead of his high-stake meeting with Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping, US President Trump holds talks with Japanese Prime Minister Sakai. Trade and security dominate the agenda. After Trump's 48-hour warning, Hamas returns body of another deceased hostage. Remains of 12 hostages still held in Gaza. Israel lifts state of emergency near Gaza border for the first time since 2023. Tensions simmer between US and Venezuela as US flies B-1B bombers over the Caribbean. Caracas announces immediate suspension of energy agreements with Trinidad and Tobago over hosting of US naval warship. And moving on, Cyclone Monta is intensifying over the Bay of Bengal and is expected to make landfall on the coastal regions of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha on Tuesday evening. Now, the Indian Meteorological Department has issued red alert for Andhra Pradesh and Odisha's coastal region. The severe cyclonic storm is forecast to bring maximum sustained winds of 90 to 100 km per hour, gusting up to 110 km per hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has assured full central support to Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. Authorities have ordered immediate evacuation of residents from low-lying and coastal areas to rehabilitation centres, ensuring safe drinking water, quality food and dedicated officers to oversee relief operations. Rescue teams are on high alert and ready for relief and restoration. Meanwhile, the East Coast Railway, as a precaution, has cancelled over 25 trains. Currently, Cyclone Monta is moving north-northwestwards over the Bay of Bengal and is likely to affect Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and the neighbouring regions over the coming days. And we have Ravi Shankar joining us from Machilipatnam, Andhra Pradesh for more on the cyclone. Well, what is the situation there? How is the weather?
Yeah, right now we are in the Manginapudi beach, which was located in the Machilipatnam town of Andhra Pradesh. This Monta cyclone, it is affecting 8 districts of Andhra Pradesh. If you see the total coastal line, at about 950 kilometers of coastal line is there in Andhra Pradesh, and at about 19 districts are there in this coastal belt. Out of these 19 districts, 8 districts are very much getting affected because of this Monta cyclone. And this state government, if you see the helping activities by state government, total 1470 villages are being affected by this cyclone, and at about 2,200 rescue center has been developed by state government to help all these 1,400 plus villages, and 12 state and NDRF teams along with 11 SDRF teams. These 23 teams are deployed in all these 8 districts now, and hopefully this Monta cyclone will have this effect from 10 o'clock onwards from now, and hopefully by tomorrow morning it will get diluted as per the the precautions. And the state government is very much supported by central government. Yesterday Narendra Modi called Chandrababu Naidu and he extended his full support to him. And real-time government center is there in Amravati, from which Chandrababu Naidu is operating all the helping activities. And South Central Railway, if you see, at about 70 trains which are departing from Vijayawada, they have been cancelled for 2 days, today and tomorrow, as well as the East Coast Railway. It cancelled 40 trains departing from Vijayawada as well as Vizag now. And the flights also, at about 11 flights from Gannavaram Airport and Vizag Airport got cancelled today.
All right, so lots of precautions being already taken there. Also, the residents have been evacuated from the low-lying areas. Tell us about that.
Yes. As I said before, 2,200 rescue centers have been allocated in all these 8 districts. Especially if you see the NDRF teams, they are with modern machinery, bulldozers and all. They are ready to face any kind of situation, whatever the worst situation may be. And for every district, an IAS officer on special duty was deployed. He is looking after all the activities and the ration. Not only erecting these 2,200 rescue centers, the ration, electricity and all were properly managed to those centers to face these 2 days scenario because of this Monta cyclone.
All right. Thank you so much, Ravi Shankar, for all those details. And moving on, 8th session of the International Solar Alliance Assembly aims to accelerate global adoption of solar energy and deepen international cooperation for a sustainable future. At the heart of this gathering lies India's rapidly expanding role in renewable energy, marked by significant achievements and bold ambitions. A report.
New Delhi is abuzz as the 8th session of the International Solar Alliance Assembly commenced today at Bharat Mandapam, gathering high-level delegations from 124 countries and over 40 ministers for 4 days of discussions centered on deepening international cooperation and accelerating solar energy transitions. The Assembly, which is recognized as the ISA's supreme decision-making forum, is set to drive the global agenda for a clean, sustainable future through focused action on solar finance, technology, and capacity building. India's leadership is in sharp focus, with President Draupadi Murmu scheduled to deliver the first ever presidential keynote to the ISA Assembly, reinforcing India's commitment to the founding vision of One World, One Sun, One Grid, and showcasing the nation's recent achievements in solar power deployment. India's progress in achieving 50% of its installed capacity from non-fossil sources 5 years ahead of target and ranking as the world's third largest solar producer stands as an example for other developing countries. A landmark feature of this session is the unveiling of a multi-nation joint solar power bidding platform by ISA, designed to unite member countries in securing competitive solar cum storage projects and also harnessing cross-border opportunities at scale. Strategic discussions will address financing for underserved regions, innovations in solar technology, and expanded use in sectors like agriculture and health, targeting sustainable development and energy security for all. ISA, which was launched in 2015 by India and France, now counts 125 member and signatory countries working across continents to mobilize investments, reduce solar technology costs, and promote harmonized standards and policies. With global momentum behind its mission, unlocking $1 trillion in solar investments by 2030, and transforming energy access for billions, this assembly sets a blueprint for coordinated international action in the race to achieve carbon neutrality and universal clean energy. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, the phase 2 of the special intensive revision of electoral rolls will begin in the 12 states and union territories across India from Tuesday. India's Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar on Monday said that this revision is aimed to make electoral rolls more transparent and error-free. Now, the CEC also highlighted that the poll body received 0 appeals in the first phase of SIR.
Andamans and Nicobar Island Union Territory, State Chhattisgarh, Goa, Gujarat, Kerala, Union Territory Lakshadweep, Madhya Pradesh, Puducherry Union Territory, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal. इन 12 राज्यों में कुल मतदाता 51 करोड़ के लगभग हैं. लगभग 5,33,000 बूथ लेवल ऑफिसर्स इस महान कार्य में अपना योगदान देंगे. लगभग 7,64,000 बूथ लेवल एजेंट्स जो पार्टीज द्वारा नामित हैं वो इसमें अपना योगदान देंगे और लगभग 10,500 EROs और लगभग 321 कलेक्टर्स. ये पूरी चुनावी कर्मियों की जो टीम है वो इस SIR की फेज 2 में कार्य करेगी और इसको सफल बनाएगी.
Well, India's Member of Parliament P. Wilson highlighted India's unwavering commitment to women, peace and security agenda while delivering India's national statement at the Peacebuilding Commission's ambassadorial level meeting on WPS held at UN headquarters in New York. He stressed upon India's readiness to share expertise, training and technology with partners and friends, particularly from the Global South.
Today, Indian women peacekeepers serve with distinctions in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Abyei and South Sudan, helping build trust with communities, addressing gender-based violence and strengthening protection of civilians. Through these deployments, India has demonstrated the profound positive contribution and impact that women bring to peacekeeping and peacebuilding. They build trust in communities and give hope to the vulnerable populations, particularly women and children. Most critically, they help address gender-based violence and ensure that peace process reflects the needs and perspectives of all segments of society.
Well, India forged closer maritime cooperation with the Netherlands, Saudi Arabia and Sri Lanka on the sidelines of the India Maritime Week 2025 on Monday, strengthening maritime ties between India and Sri Lanka. A bilateral meeting was held between port ministers of both the sides. Now, the discussions focused on enhancing maritime connectivity through the ongoing India-Sri Lanka ferry service and exploring the possibility of launching a new route between Rameshwaram and Thalai Mannar, further deepening regional cooperation and people-to-people connect. Well, India and Saudi Arabia too talked about maritime cooperation with a discussion focused on collaboration in green hydrogen, maritime investments and emerging opportunities in the blue economy. They also talked about strengthening the maritime partnership between the two nations for a sustainable and prosperous future. While India and the Netherlands signed an MOU on maritime collaboration, reinforcing the shared vision for innovation and sustainability in the sector. Additionally, a letter of intent was signed for the establishment of a green and digital sea corridor, promoting cleaner, smarter and future-ready maritime connectivity between the two nations. And on the first day since assuming charge, President of Seychelles, Dr. Patrick Herminy, spoke exclusively to DD India's Jayanti Jha on a whole gamut of relations and the island country's commitment to peace and prosperity, maritime security and sustainable development and the robust ties with India. As a DD India exclusive, take a listen.
India and Seychelles, connected geographically by the Indian Ocean, have a very special partnership that extends across sectors ranging from maritime security to people-to-people ties to renewable energy and beyond. Today, we have with us a very special guest joining us, Dr. Patrick Herminy, the 6th President of Seychelles, for a very special conversation on the relationship that the two nations share. Sir, thank you for joining us on the first day since assuming office as President of Seychelles, and welcome to DD India.
Thank you.
Sir, as the 6th President of Seychelles, what will be your top priorities for your country in the coming few years?
Oh, well, quite a lot. Our biggest problem right now is the drug problem, which is more or less an existential threat for our country. It is reckoned that 10% of our youth, they are on heroin or some hard drugs, and that is affecting our workforce. Even our fertility rate, which has not gone above 1.7 for several years now. The second issue is to ensure proper delivery by government. The civil service has been quite lackluster over the last 5 years, and we have other issues like reinvigorating tourism, which has seen a downslide of some sort. Of course, our health and education, the standards have gone down quite drastically. And yes, we need to transform our country and prepare Seychelles for the next level of development, which includes science, technology, engineering, and of course artificial intelligence. So we're preparing ourselves to make Seychelles the Dubai of the Indian Ocean.
So Seychelles is very active at both the regional organization level as well as in international fora. How do you see that role evolve under your presidency, especially with regard to promoting peace, maritime security, as well as sustainable development in the Indian Ocean region?
Yes, we will continue more or less on the same path as the previous governments. We firmly believe in sustainable development, especially when it comes to the blue economy. Maritime security is very important for us, hence the whole saga surrounding Assumption, which I'm sure you must have heard of. Otherwise, Seychelles will always be conservative when it comes to environment, but because we depend a lot on tourism, we also have to strike the right balance between tourism development and conservation.
Right. So India has been a long-term development partner for Seychelles in sectors like health, education, capacity building. How do you see India's role going forward in alignment with your national priorities?
Definitely. One, capacity building. As you know, India has got very good universities, very good professionals. Even with our military, we have very close ties with India. So yes, we will depend. We will not depend, but we will strengthen that relationship when it comes to capacity building. There is an absolute need for that. In fact, we spoke about the possibility of India building a hospital here in Seychelles, and Indian specialists coming to work in this country. With regards to education, I've already talked about university level education, but of course, primary, secondary, we will seek the support of the Indian government to assist us with teachers, which, as you know, the number is fast decreasing in our country because, you know, there's a lot of overturn, and the attrition rate is quite high, and we depend a lot on foreigners.
Okay. So India and Seychelles have a very close partnership that spans centuries. What is it that keeps drawing the two nations back to each other time and again? And where do you see this relationship going forward?
Yeah, geographically we're quite close. Long history, over 250 years, and a lot of Seychellois, they are of Indian heritage, significant diaspora. I wouldn't say even diaspora, Seychellois. They are originally from India, although they do not belong to the Indian diaspora per se, but they have Indian blood.
The ties
so
with India.
The ties is very strong. I mean, it's gone a long way since independence. India was one of the first countries to recognize us.
So, Vice President of India, C.P. Radhakrishnan, was in Seychelles for a 2-day visit. He attended your swearing in. He later also interacted with you, where he conveyed the greetings of the Indian people to you. How was that interaction for you?
Oh, very significant. Significant because it was the Vice President of India. It's not anybody. India, as you know, is a regional powerhouse, and the presence of India, a former inauguration, personally meant a lot.
Thank you, sir, for joining us on DD India for this very special interaction.
Thank you.
That was Dr. Patrick Ermini, the President of Seychelles, speaking to DD India about the enduring legacy of the India-Seychelles friendship. With camera person Jai Shankar and Saurabh Shukla in Seychelles, this is Jayanti Jha for DD India.
Well, the vibrant celebrations of Chhath Puja concluded today with Usha Araghya, in which devotees offered water to the rising sun. This final day holds a special significance for devotees who gather before the sunrise to offer prayers to the rising sun and thank Chhati Maiya for prosperity, family and well-being and fulfillment of the wishes. The ritual marks the completion of the 4-day observance that began with Nahai Khe, followed by Karna, the Sandhya Araghya to the setting sun, and the ends with the morning Usha Araghya. On this day, devotees stand waist deep in water, facing the horizon as the first rays of sunlight touch the sky. The act of offering Araghya represents the devotees' connection to nature and acknowledgement of the sun's life-giving energy. Usha Aragya represents the rising of new hope, the end of hardship and the gratitude of life. It strengthens the bond between humanity and nature, reminding devotees that life's circles of darkness and light are continuous and interconnected. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended wishes to countrymen on the last day of Chhath Puja. In a tweet, he said, and I quote, "Today, the great festival of Chhath concludes today with the morning Aragya offered to Lord Sun God. During his 4-day ritual, we witnessed the divine glimpses of a grand tradition of Chhath Puja. Heartfelt congratulations to all our family members and fasting devotees who became part of this sacred festival. May the boundless grace of Chhati Maiya keep all your lives forever illuminated." And the President of the Republic of Uganda and the First Lady hosted a dinner for the Indian community at State House in Entebbe on Sunday to celebrate Diwali. The State House dinner was attended by prominent members of the Indian community, officials from High Commission of India, led by the High Commissioner Upendra Singh Rawat. On the occasion, High Commissioner Rawat delivered remarks highlighting the strong ties between India and Uganda and significant contribution of the Indian community to Uganda's economy. Well, it was on this day, that is 20th of October, way back in 1867, when Margaret Elizabeth Nobel in Ireland was born and became a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. She became Sister Nivedita and dedicated her life to the cause of India. The next report delves deep into the life of this great soul and her birth anniversary. Take a look.
On October 28, 1867, Sister Margaret Noble was born in Ireland. Later, loving India through Swami Vivekananda's companionship, she came to India. From Margaret, she became Sister Nivedita. Sister Nivedita's contributions to several important aspects of India are undeniable, including propagation of Hindu religion, women's education, and the independence movement.
These days, the relevance of Sister Nivedita is more than before. As these days we value our personal happiness, peace and comforts, majority fail to understand the dividing line between our personal necessity and luxury. She, being a foreigner, had adjusted so much and given every drop of her blood for this country.
This year marks her 157th birth anniversary. In Kolkata's Bagbazar, Sister Nivedita's house still exists, keeping everything old intact. The Sarada Mott authorities have restored it. Swami Vivekananda had visited this house. He sat in the veranda inside the house. That veranda still remains. There, the era has been recreated for viewers through augmented reality.
In 1897,
we see Swamiji writing to her that you are the woman, a real lioness to work for the Indian people and especially Indian women. Swamiji saw in her the qualities that the women of India in those days lacked to carry his vision and mission forward. Swamiji himself lauded her qualities of sincerity, purity, and immense love and dedication for India.
Today, many devotees come to this house daily to see and touch history with their own eyes.
News are time now for some sports news. Sujit Kalkal won the gold medal in the 65 kg men's freestyle category at the Under-23 World Wrestling Championship in Serbin city of Novi Sad. Sujit beat Uzbekistan's Umidujon Jalolov in the final bout on the last day of competition to end India's campaign on a high. Indian wrestlers finished with 9 medals, including 1 gold, 2 silvers and 6 bronze. Competitions were held in 10 weight categories, each in men and women freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling. Around 700 wrestlers from across the globe competed. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.